Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. We continue to read from Srimad Bhagavatam. We are on Canto 9, Chapter 4. Does anyone remember what we read last?
Hare Krishna.
Hare
We
Krishna.
were reading about Ambarīṣa Maharaj, that how he always, like a Brahmin may not be a Vaishnav, but a Vaishnav is a Brahmin always. So he took advice from the Brahmanas who are pure devotees, and under their guidance, he was ruling the kingdom. And as they know that everything belongs to Krishna, so that is the peace formula, that you know that everything belongs to Krishna. He's the proprietor of everything, he's the best friend of everyone, and everything belongs to him. So he's the well-wisher of everyone. So Amrish Maharaj was ruling under their guidance, like they were all the pure devotees of the Lord, and then there can be peace. So um, even the citizens are guided to become the devotees, and then there will be so much peace everywhere, and that will be like kind of a Ram Rajya. So uh, Baldev Vidyabhushan, in the Bhagavad Gita also it was described that how the devotee of the Lord has devotion and the divine qualities come. Uh, and so we know that everything belongs to Krishna, and those who are devotees, they have the good qualities. And then we also read one more point that for Vedic sacrifices, expert brahmanas are needed, and they are called the Yagic Brahmanas. But in Kali Yuga, we don't have many Yagic Brahmanas. So the recommended sacrifice is Sankirtan Yagya. And then Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that perform sacrifice to please demigods, and there will be rain, and everyone can be happy. But now, in this time, we don't have the Yagic Brahmins who can perform those Ashwamedh Yagyas, or so we are advised to do Sankirtan Yagya in the Kali Yuga. That is the best way. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And so one time Maharaj Ambarish he had arranged this kind of yagya, Ashramedh yagya. Vashishta Muni was there, Sita and other great personalities were there. So we'll continue reading. Yasya kratushu girvane
Yasya kratushu girvanai
sadasya ritvijo janaha
sadasya ritvajo janaha
tulya rupas chani misha
tulya rupa chanmishaha
vyadrashyanta suvasasaha.
vyadrashyanta suvasasaha.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. In the sacrifice arranged by Maharaj Ambarish, the members of the assembly and the priests, especially Hota, Udgata, Brahma, and Advaryu, were gorgeously dressed, and they all looked exactly like demigods. They eagerly saw to the proper performance of the yajna. So in this kind of yajna, there are 4 priests which are needed. Actually, there are many priests needed to chant the mantras. There are 4 of them is main ones, Hota, Udgata, Brahma, and Advaryu. And they were all uh, very dressed very nicely, like demigods. And even the other people who were there attending the sacrifice, they were also dressed very nicely. Swargo na prarhito yasya
Swargo na praryitho yasya
manujair amara priyaha
manojay amara priyaha
shanvadbir upagad yadbir
shranvadhibhi upagayadhir
uttama shloka chestitam
Uttama cheshtitam.
The citizens of the state of Mahārāja Ambarīṣa were accustomed to chanting and hearing about the glorious activities of the personality of Godhead. Thus they never aspired to be elevated to the heavenly planets, which are extremely dear even to the demigods. A pure devotee who has been trained in the practice of chanting and hearing the holy name of the Lord and his fame, qualities, form, paraphernalia, and so on, is never interested in elevation to the heavenly planets, even though such places are extremely dear even to the demigods. So we have been seeing, in Bhagavatam, we have been hearing about all the pure devotees, and they they don't have desire to go to the heavens to enjoy in the heavens. No, their desire is, their prayer always is, my dear Lord, let me continue to hear and chant your glories. Narayana parasarve na kutascha bibhyati swarga apavarga narakesha apitulyartha darshinaha. Devotees solely engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan never fear any condition of life. The heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same to a devotee. Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 17, Text 28. So Bhagavatam is saying for the pure devotee, there is no fear because he is completely surrendered to Krishna. He's like, whatever Krishna's desire. And so a devotee may be sent to hellish planets or he may be sent to heavenly planets, liberation. He never aspires for these. What he wants, he just wants to engage in devotional service. And if he can do that, he doesn't matter to him wherever he is sent by the Lord. It doesn't matter even going to hellish planets, as long as he can always hear and chant the glories of the Lord. A devotee is always situated in the spiritual world. Therefore, he does not desire anything. He is known as akama or desireless because he has nothing to desire except to render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we heard earlier that Ambarīṣa Maharaj, he had no material desire. His only desire was how to engage in devotional service, how to please the Lord. So this is a pure desire. It's a spiritual desire. Pure devotees desire like that. And that's why they are called desireless. Because this desire is not material, it's transcendental. So, because Maharaj Ambarish was a most exalted devotee of the Lord, he trained his subjects in such a way that the citizens in his state were not interested in anything material, including even the happiness of the heavenly planets. So, not only was Ambarish Maharaj on that platform, but all his citizens also, their only desire was engage in devotional service. They were trained, here Prabhupada is using, trained because of expert rulership by Ambarish Maharaj under the guidance of the devotees. All the citizens also became devotees. Samvardhayanti yatkama
Sambardhayanti yat kama
Yatkama
swarajya paribhavitaha
swarajya
Swarajya
paribhavita
Paribhavita
durlabhanapi siddhanam
durlabhanapi
Vanapi Siddha
siddhanam
mukundam hridi pashyataha.
mukunda
Mukundam
priti pashyataha.
Pasyatam.
Those who are saturated with the transcendental happiness of rendering service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead are uninterested even in the achievements of great mystics, for such achievements do not enhance the transcendental bliss felt by a devotee who always thinks of Krishna within the core of his heart. A pure devotee is uninterested not only in elevation to the higher planetary systems, But even in the perfection of mystic yoga, real perfection is devotional service. So here earlier verse, Sukadev Goswami was saying that the citizens, everyone, their only desire was we want to engage in pure devotional service. We want to hear and chant the glories of the Lord. They did not care to go to the heavenly planets. Like how someone we may have the desire, oh, I want to go to the heavens. I want to enjoy in the heavens. It's so beautiful. There's so much sense gratification. And then there is so many intoxicating beverages to drink there. But the citizens of Ambarīṣa Maharaj, they knew it's all temporary. They were already experiencing a higher happiness, hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. So when you have a higher taste, then you don't want anything lower. So not only did they not aspire for heavenly happiness, they also did not aspire for happiness of mysticism, of mystic yoga. Because already situated, they're already happy, higher happiness they're getting. Real perfection is devotional service. The happiness derived from merging in the impersonal Brahman and the happiness derived from the eight perfections of mystic yoga, anima, lagima, prapti, and so on, do not give any pleasure to the devotee. So anima, lagima, that eight mystic siddhis are there. You become bigger, you become very big, you become very tiny, you can get something from very far away. Like that, there are eight perfections, but the devotee is not looking for that. What devotee is looking? I want to continue to hear and chant the glories of the Lord. As stated by Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati, Kevalyam narakayate tridashapur akash pushpayate durd atendriya kala sarpapatalu prodkhata damstrayate vishwam purna sukhayate vidhi mahendra adhischakitayate yad karunya kataksha vaibhavatam tam gauram evastumaha. Chaitanya Chandramrita 5. When a devotee has achieved the position of rendering transcendental loving service to the Lord through the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, he thinks the impersonal Brahman to be no better than hell, and he regards material happiness in the heavenly planets to be like a will-o'-the-wisp. So Prabodhananda Saraswati, associate of Lord Chaitanya, so he's writing that by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, when one is engaged in pure devotional service, it's by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Then what happens? A pure devotee, for him, impersonal Brahman, you know, so many people are aspiring to go to the Brahman, to become one. But the pure devotee, he thinks, no, that's hell. Why? Because there's no hearing and chanting of the Lord there. There's no devotees there. There's no Lord over there. So it's like hellish for him. And material happiness in heavenly planets like a will-o'-the-wisp, it's like a phantasmagoria. It's like very short time. For short time there will be happiness in heavens, but soon the time in heavens will finish. Again one will be finding oneself in human form or animal form or something. Again so much suffering. As far as the perfection of mystic powers is concerned, a devotee compares it to a venomous snake with no teeth. A mystic yogi is especially concerned with controlling the senses. But because the senses of a devotee are engaged in the service of the Lord, Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate, there is no need for separate control of the senses. So mystic powers, yam niyam has to be followed, pranayam, asan, all that. The mind and senses have to be controlled by uh, in order to get the mystic perfections. But for a devotee, already his senses are controlled. His mind is controlled. We heard Ambarīṣa Maharaj, first of all, he fixes the mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. And then all his senses are engaged in the service of Krishna. And so automatically his mind and senses are already controlled. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate, engaging the senses in the service of the master of the senses. That is real control of the senses. Someone may think control of the senses means I don't have to see anything, I don't have to eat anything, I don't have to speak anything, but that's not possible. The senses are there, they just need to have proper engagement. And that proper engagement is engage in service of Krishna. For those who are materially engaged, control of the senses is required. But the devotee senses are all engaged in the service of the Lord, which means that they are already controlled. Param Drishtva Nivartate, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text 59. A devotee's senses are not attracted by material enjoyment. And even though the material world is full of misery, the devotee considers this material world to be also spiritual because everything is engaged in the service of the Lord. So, this is how to change the material to spiritual. When anything is engaged in the service of the Lord, it is spiritual, no longer material. And that's how this material world also becomes the spiritual world for the devotee. He's seeing everything belonging to Krishna. And so he's saying, oh, everything should be engaged in service of Krishna. The difference between the spiritual and material world is the mentality of service. Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchyate. When there is no mentality of service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one's activities are material. So what is the difference between material and spiritual world?
Hare Krishna.
Right?
In material, we are using our senses in the material enjoyment and for our fulfillment. We desire siddhis and we want to go to heavenly planets. But when it is spiritual, it is only thinking of Krishna, serving Krishna, engaged in service, loving service of Lord Krishna.
Yeah, that's right. So when one is engaged in the service of Krishna, then even the material world is spiritual. For him, for him then there is no material. Everything is spiritual. Papanchikataya buddhaya hari sambandhi vastuna mumukshubhi parityago vairagyam falgu katyate. Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu 1, 2, 256. That which is engaged in the service of the Lord is not material, and nothing thus engaged should be given up. So Srila Rupa Goswami is saying that anything that is engaged in the service of the Lord is spiritual, is not material. And so there should not be artificial renunciation that, oh no, no, this is material, I shouldn't touch this, I shouldn't touch that. No, rather engage everything in the service of Krishna because everything belongs to Krishna. It's like you know, how we cook food, right? Cook food, offer it to Krishna, bhoga. Then this food becomes prasadam, spiritual food. So material food is offered to Krishna, becomes spiritual. And so anything engaged in service of Krishna becomes spiritual. In the construction of a high skyscraper and the construction of a temple, there may be the same enthusiasm, but the endeavors are different. For one is material and the other spiritual, right? One big building is being made, that's for our own enjoyment, but a temple is being made. So the activity is the same. Workers are employed, engineers, architects, construction workers. So, plumbing is there. So many different aspects are there. But One is material, one is spiritual, because one is being built for Krishna, another is being built for our sense gratification. Spiritual activities should not be confused with material activities and given up. So one may think, okay, construction means all material. No, but constructing temple for Krishna becomes spiritual. Nothing connected with Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is material. A devotee who considers all this is always situated in spiritual activities, and therefore he is no longer attracted by material activities. Param drishtva nivartate. So what other examples can we use here? Here, like we spoke about prasad, then here Prabhupada is mentioning about construction of a building or a temple. What other example can be given? What do you all think? Engage in service of Krishna.
When you are doing Harinams, dancing,
Oh yeah,
dancing,
dancing.
yeah,
Yeah, we are dancing in a club, or then other one dancing in the temple, or dancing for the pleasure of Krishna. Yeah. So activity dancing is there. So, but one is material, one is spiritual. So we can see that activities don't need to be given up. They just need to be done for pleasure of Krishna. Okay, dancing, good one. Okay. Sa itham bhakti yogena
sa itham bhakti yogena
tapo yuktena parthivaha
tapo yuktena parthivaha
swadharmena harim prenan
swadharmena harim prinan
sarvan kaman shaner jaho.
sarvan kaman shane jaho.
The king of this planet, Mahārāja Ambarīṣa, thus performed devotional service to the Lord, and in this endeavor practiced severe austerity, always satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his constitutional activities. He gradually gave up all material desires. Severe austerities in the practice of devotional service are of many varieties. So austerity, but in relation to Krishna consciousness. So, for example, in worshipping the deity in the temple, there are certainly laborious activities. Shri Vigrahardhana, Nityanana, Shringaratan, Mandiramarjanado. One must decorate the deity, cleanse the temple, bring water from the Ganges and Yamuna, continue the routine work, perform arti many times, prepare first class food for the deity, prepare dresses, and so on. In this way, one must constantly be engaged in various activities, and the hard labor involved is certainly an austerity. So, what kind of austerity? One may think, what austerity to do in Krishna consciousness in relation to Krishna. So, here, for example, Prabhupada is saying that engaging in deity worship, it's not easy if it's done, with at proper timings. Cleanliness has to be observed, punctuality, collecting all the articles for worshipping the deity. Arti has to be done. The bhoga has to be cooked, and so there's labor involved. And this is an austerity in Krishna consciousness, austerity for the pleasure of Krishna. Similarly, the hard labor involved in preaching, preparing literature, preaching to atheistic men, and distributing literature door to door is of course an austerity, tapo yuktena, tapo divyam putraka. Such austerity is necessary, yena sattvam shuddhayet. By such austerity and devotional service, one is purified of material existence, kaman chaner jaho. So another austerity, preaching, book distribution, going on Hari Nam, printing the books. Yeah, it's not easy. So, but the devotees are doing this. So devotees are doing this, and this is austerity. This austerity is purifying. Purifying of what? Material existence, bringing one closer and closer to Krishna. You know, for that attachment to Krishna. So because one may think austerity means I have to go sit under the sun, I have to, on a hot day, or I have to dip myself in cold water. But those kind of austerities are not going to help us get out of the material world. Sure, they'll help us control our mind and senses. They'll give us some kind of mysticism, mystic powers. But they won't help us get out of the material world. But austerity in Krishna consciousness will help us get out of the material world. So indeed, such austerity leads one to the constitutional position of devotional service. In this way, one can give up material desires. And as soon as one is freed from material desires, is free from the repetition of birth and death, old age and disease. So austerity in Krishna consciousness, serving the deity, preaching, whatever, one may have different services. And then gradually, it helps one to give up material desires, because then the desire is to please Krishna. Oh, I have to do this for the deity, I have to perform arti, I have to cook for the deity, so gradually the desires are changed. Or I have to go preaching, I have to go Harinam. So the desires are changed. And when one gives up material desires, one is free from the material desires, then no more need to come to the material world. Goes to the spiritual world. So the devotee, he's serving Krishna here in the material world, and he goes to the spiritual world to continue serving Krishna. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Griheshu dareshu suteshu bandhushu
गृहेषु दारेषु श्रुतेषु बन्धुषु
bandushu
Vipotamasyandanavajivastushu
Dvipotamashandavaji
जीवास्तुषु
Akshaya Ratna Bharanambaradishu
अक्षय रत्नाभरणाम्बरा
Dish
Ananta Kosheshvakarod Asanmatim.
Ananta
अनन्तकोशे वरनम्
Akarod Asanmatim.
Maharaj Ambarish gave up all attachment to household affairs, wives, children, friends, and relatives, to the best of powerful elephants, to beautiful chariots, carts, horses, and inexhaustible jewels, and to ornaments, garments, and an inexhaustible treasury. He gave up attachment to all of them, regarding them as temporary and material. Anasaktasya vishayan yatharham upayunjataha. Material possessions can be accepted as far as they can be used in devotional service. So Maharaj Ambarish understood it belongs to Krishna. So he's not attached to them, but he's using everything in Krishna's service. This is correct renunciation. This is really renunciation. That everything to be used in service of Krishna. Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam. Anukulasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam. So, whatever is favorable should be accepted. What is not favorable should be rejected. In preaching, many things considered material are needed. A devotee should not have any attachment for such material involvements as house, wife, children, friends, and cars. Maharaj Ambarīṣa, for example, had all such things, but he was not attached to them. This is the effect of Bhakti Yoga. So he has everything, but he's using everything in Krishna's service. That is real way of attachment. That is real renunciation. So he didn't say, no, 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 I'm a devotee now. I cannot be a king. I have to renounce everything. I cannot have treasury. I cannot have a family. I cannot have wife and children and horses and, palaces. No, he's a devotee. So he's engaging everything he has in devotional service. This is the effect of Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Paresha Anubhava Viraktir Anyatra Cha. Bhagavatam 11:42. One who is advanced in devotional service has no attachment for material things for sense enjoyment, but for preaching, to spread the glories of the Lord. He accepts such things without attachment. So, for example, Mahārāja Ambarīṣa is a pure devotee. He's not saying, oh, I don't want to be a king anymore. Rather, because he's a king, he is in the position to protect the citizens, to guide the citizens, to train the citizens. So he's training the citizens also to become pure devotees. Anasaktasya vishayan yatharham upayunjataha. Everything can be used to the extent that it can be engaged in Krishna's service. Prabhupada used to give the example, he would use the dictaphone, for his recording, for his translation of the books. So then he used to record. So many material things are used. But it's all for devotional service. So it is real renunciation. It's a proper use of everything. Is that okay? Comments?
Yeah, it's so good. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Tasma adad daris chakram
Tasma adadharis chakram
pratyanika bhaya vaham
pratyanika bhayam
Pratyavaham
ekanta bhakti bhavena
ekanta
tanta
bhakti
bhakti
bhavena
bhavena
prito bhakta bhirakshanam.
preet
prito bhakta
bhakta
bhirakshanam.
Being very pleased by the unalloyed devotion of Maharaj Ambarīṣa, the Supreme Personality of Godhead gave the king his disc, which is fearful to enemies, and which always protects the devotee from enemies and adversities. A devotee, being always engaged in the service of the Lord, may not be expert in self-defense, but because a devotee fully depends on the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is always sure of protection by the Lord. So, Maharaj Ambarīṣa, pure devotee, Krishna is very pleased by his devotion, so he's giving him his disc, Sudarshan Chakra. Sudarshan Chakra, demons are very scared, afraid of the Sudarshan Chakra, but the devotees feel protected. It can protect the devotee from his enemies. Prahlad Maharaj said, Nebod Vijay Paraduratyaya Vaitaranayas. Tvad-virya gayana mahamrita magna chittaha. Bhagavatam 7:9-43. A devotee is always merged in the ocean of the transcendental bliss of rendering service to the Lord. Therefore, he is not at all afraid of any adverse situation in the material world. So, Prahlad Maharaj is saying, the devotee is happy, he is completely immersed in this ocean of happiness by engaging in devotional service. That's his entire consciousness. He's not thinking, this is my enemy, this is my friend. No, as Prahlad Maharaj would say. He's just thinking how I can please Krishna. That's all. And so that's why he's not afraid of any change, any situation. Why? Because he says, any situation I am in, I'm going to continue serve Krishna. So however the situation may be, the devotee's goal is to serve Krishna. And so he's not afraid in any situation. Nothing material can stop devotional service. And the devotee continues to serve Krishna in any circumstance. The Lord also promises, Kaunteya pratijanihi na me bhakta pranashyati. O Arjuna, you may declare to the world that the devotees of the Lord are never vanquished. Bhagavad Gita 9:31. So Krishna is also saying, right? He's telling Arjuna, you declare boldly that, I protect my devotees. My devotees have my protection. For the protection of the devotees, Krishna's the Sudarshan Chakra is always ready. This disc is extremely fearful to the non-devotees. Pratyanika bhava bhayabaham. Therefore, although Mahārāja Ambarīṣa was fully engaged in devotional service, his kingdom was free of all fear of adversity. So Sudarshan Chakra. Anyone remembers any instance? Sudarshan Chakra, pleasure for protection of the devotee, or in
Yeah,
any way? I'm sorry.
yeah. Durvāsā Muni, right? He came
Yeah,
to him
yeah,
and he was like, he cursed him,
yeah.
like,
This
because
is,
he, yeah. So then the Lord sent the Sudarshan Chakra.
yeah, that's right. We are going to hear now soon. This pastime is going to come up. How Sudarshan Chakra will protect Ambarish Maharaj. And it's going to give so much fear to Durvāsā Muni. So much fear to him. Yeah, so the devotees are not afraid of the Sudarshan Chakra. The demons are afraid. Okay. So the devotees, he's fully dependent on the Lord. The Lord can see that. So he's like, okay, you're fully engaged in my service. I'm giving you this chakra for your protection. Okay.
He
Stop
gave
here.
him the chakra, or he had it with him, but whenever needed,
Yeah, that's what. That's right.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That whenever is needed, the Sudarshan Chakra will be there to protect him. Yeah. Shall we stop here?
Yes.
Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur
Jai,
Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare
Jai.
Krishna. Thank you all for
Hare
listening
Krishna.
in.